Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, March 21st. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Denise Douglas. Thank you for joining us this evening. A bill that would toughen how child abuse and neglect cases are handled has passed the state's House of Delegates. Currently, educators, law enforcement, and other workers must report such cases. Lawmakers have amended the measure to say that if a worker fails to report abuse, a complaint can be filed with the person's licensing board or agency. While this is not in response to the Prince George's County child porn case involving Deontay Caraway, Delegate Geraldine Valentino-Smith says the legislation would affect similar cases moving forward.
This bill has been in and been discussed for a couple years, so it's certainly not in direct response to that. But with respect to that, if there are persons in there, teachers, healthcare providers, law enforcement, that knew that a child was being abused, not a threat of abuse, but actually being abused, they had a mandatory requirement to report, and now their licensing boards would look at them, and it would be within the purview of the licensing boards to decide what penalties, if any, were available.
The bill now goes before the Senate.
And legislation that would send individuals with drug possession charges to treatment centers instead of prison has moved to the Senate floor. The bill known as the Justice Reinvestment Act was approved by the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee last Friday. The measure expected to save Maryland about $250 million over the next 10 years. Now, the bill would allow people with drug records to have them expunged. Senate President Mike Miller sponsoring the legislation.
Thank you for that, Byron. A historic visit for President Barack Obama. The president is meeting with Raul Castro today as the United States and Cuba continue the process of normalizing relations. After decades of hostilities between the two nations, Obama and President Castro held a face-to-face meeting in Havana this afternoon.
Our starting point is that we have two different systems of government, two different economies, and we have decades of profound differences, both bilaterally and internationally. What I have said to President Castro is that we are moving forward and not looking backwards, that we don't view Cuba as a threat to the United States. I hope that my visit here indicates the degree to which we're setting a new chapter in Cuban-American relations.
Obama is the first president to visit Cuba in almost 90 years. You're watching CTV News. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Byron Scott.